morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion on this beautiful Thursday morning, the start of the Minnesota State Fair. One of the greatest, one of the biggest, actually the biggest if you go by the right metrics. I know that Glenn will disagree with me. He's a Texan down there, but we only do for 10 days and we get multiple, I think it's about 2.5 million people will be going through the fair. I'm going to be one of them later on today. Before I get to that though, you look back to Friday, then at Monday, and then at Tuesday, we really did have the markets getting hammered pretty hard. Yesterday, a little bit different. Wednesday gave us a bit of a roller coaster ride. We had a nice move to the upside after starting very calm, and then we eased back towards the end of the day, still finished in positive territory, which that, of course, is a good thing. We were up about 60 points on the Dow, about 50 points on the NASDAQ, so a pretty decent performance, but we still have a long way to go to get back a lot of those points that we lost over those previous 3 days. 1,000 points on the Dow, over 500 points on the NASDAQ. So there is some work to be done. We look over at crude around $95. We look at nat gas trading right around 9.25. We had that big run all the way up to 10. Then we pulled back. And here's where it seems like we are almost just sitting there right now, a lot like the 2-year and the 10-year. They've made a very, very aggressive move over many trading sessions to the upside. You look at the 10-year, it's trading about 3.1, maybe even a little bit higher than that. And then yesterday, we were also looking at the 2-year about 3.3, and then moving closer and closer to 3.4. So a lot going on there as far as what we're seeing. And that, of course, been a big factor in what we're seeing in the markets themselves, some of the selling pressure when they're seeing that 10-year get up and above that 3 level. You look over at the volatility index, underneath 23, but still hanging in there well into that low 20s area. 2280s where we closed up. We had some volume yesterday, a little bit lighter though. 33 million contracts trading, still a huge number, but about 7 million short of where we are averaging right now year to date and in the month of August. So we'll see how that all plays out. Every single sector did close in the green. There wasn't anything that absolutely just blew us away throughout the day, but everything was in green. You look at energy, that was the leader. It was up a little over 1% yesterday. Exxon, Chevron, APA, you look at EQT, which is one of those nat gas type names. Then you look over at Devon, you get the idea. Big, big move from a lot of different companies across the spectrum of energy. Then you look at the financials. We look at Schwab, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. That was up about 0.5% yesterday. Like I say, not a lot of movement, but everything was in the green. Communications, names like Snap, Twitter bounced back pretty good. Pinterest, by the way, we might even have some Pinterest unusual coming at you in a second or two. Technology, it was flat to green, not a whole lot. Matter of fact, you look at Apple, look at Meta, look at Amazon, you get the idea. They were all just kind of hovering around an unchanged sort of a level after a bit of a pullback in the previous session. So where was some of the strength? Where was the weakness? Well, we did get some strength from the cruise lines. I look at Carnival, I look at Norwegian, I look at Royal. They were all in positive territory. I look at CF. We've talked about that name day after day after day. Those big ag names have really done pretty well. Mosaic and CF certainly have been on the radar for the last few sessions. There's no doubt about that. Then, of course, you got the Chinese names. We've been seeing negative, and now all of a sudden we're seeing some back-to-back days coming together. PDD, JD, Baidu, those names all in positive territory. Airbnb had a little bit of a run in Salesforce going into earnings. We'll be talking about that name in just a second. We also had Boeing, but there was some negatives out there. We talked about some of those auto type plays. AutoZone getting hammered, Advanced Auto Parts absolutely getting slammed yesterday, along with Dow and Walgreens and Moderna and Adobe and Cat and IBM. Get the idea. Pretty big across the board. There was some selling as well that actually was kind of balancing that whole thing out. As we get into today, the focus is, of course, Jackson Hole. Everybody continues to want to know what the Fed's going to be talking about. What is Chair Powell going to communicate to us? But we started off the day very quiet. We were up about 40 points on the Dow, about 80 points on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has been strong throughout this morning into the start of the opening bell. And as we've gotten into the day, just getting a little bit stronger throughout this day in this first hour, up about 120 points. We also see a nice reversal out of the Dow. The Dow was down was up 40, then it was down 40, then it started to move back to the upside. Last I looked, it was close to about 100-point move to the upside. Crude, about unchanged. Look over the volatility index, about unchanged. I look at the Vixen, still holding. That's that volatility of the NASDAQ, right near that 29, despite the fact that we're seeing the NASDAQ making a pretty powerful move today. Nat gas almost unchanged, 935, 2-year, 10-year, they are basically unchanged. We're not going to waste any time on that. So what are some of the areas that are moving to the upside? Well, materials, they started off strong. They've doubled already. They're up about 1.5% early on. Industrials up about 1% early on. Financial started flat. That's up about 1%. So you can see what's really kind of moving these markets right now to the upside. Couple of different sectors definitely contributing very nicely. I look at NVIDIA right after the earnings. It was down significantly last night, and then it came back. This morning, it was down a couple of percent. It's come back. Last I looked, it was up about 1%. What was the problem? Well, the Q3 outlook was not all that great. Then I look at Salesforce, down 8%. They have a buyback in there, $10 billion. That's always a good thing. Matter of fact, that sometimes is your life preserver that they'll throw out there. But their revenue outlook, not all that great. They cut that back on that as well. So Friday, personal consumption expenditures. That's what the Fed looks for when they're looking at the inflation numbers. Yes, they look at all the usual numbers everybody talks about. This is the one, and Chair Powell's talked about it, that they seem to have, that they look at the most strength. Well, there we go. There's the there's the Mrs. Yep, it was her birthday yesterday. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I wanted to say thank you to all you, all the people on Twitter that wished me happy birthday, and on Instagram. It was really nice. So thank you.
That was nice. That was
Okay,
great.
bye.
Yep, there's the greatest thing in my life right there. Anyway, as we go on, what are some of the strengths that we're seeing right now? Autodesk, I look at Wynn, I look at some of those cruise ships. Again, they're standing out for me. I look at something like a Carnival and a Norwegian. The Chinese names, again, PDD, Baidu, NetEase, all in positive territory, and far more of those names in positive territory. We've seen a little bit of options action and a little bit of that unusual options action that we are seeing in some of those ETFs for the Chinese names as well. Dollar Tree, Dollar General, absolutely getting slammed today. I mentioned Salesforce. That's still getting slammed pretty hard. Moderna, NVIDIA actually has been back and forth, as I just said. We'll see how it actually pans out throughout the rest of the session. But with the NASDAQ moving to the upside the way it is, maybe it's going to carry NVIDIA along as well. You've got Splunk, that's getting hit. You got Workday, that's getting hit. So now we've got two unusuals, and we're out of here for today. And John and I, at 1 p.m. today, we're going to be doing the Rebel's Edge like we do Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays. One of these days, you might start seeing this move to maybe a few more days in the week, as a matter of fact. Who knows? We're always working on a few things. We got Glenn on the other side of the glass. He's been pushing for that as well. We'll see how things all pan out. So number one, we got Pinterest. Now that one's going to be pretty interesting because we've talked about a lot of those different names in that communication space. It's trading right around 2175. We had a buyer of 3,700 of tomorrow's expiring 2130 calls. Those are already in the money. So now it's just a matter of, can Pinterest keep a bit of a momentum move to the upside, and will that pan out? We'll see. Those options are going for anywhere from 44 cents up to about 60 cents. We also have some unusual options, some sizable unusual options in Canopy. Now here we're talking about cannabis, of course. $4.14 is where the stock was. Got a buyer of 20,000 of tomorrow's expiring August 26th, the 4 calls. They're already in the money by 14 cents. They're paying 17 cents all the way up to 27 cents. Not a huge amount of premium. Will this stock be able to continue to the upside and continue a move today and tomorrow to make these actually worthwhile? We'll see how that pans out. 20,000 of those calls getting bought. That definitely stood out for us early on. I know it's a smaller number when you look at the premiums that's getting paid, but that's what a lot of people actually are looking for and ask me all the time about some of these different moves. And we are seeing 2 that are in the money and 2 that expire tomorrow. That's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to make for a great day of trading. Folks, I look forward to seeing you on the Rebel's Edge at 1 p.m. Eastern. If I'm not, we might have my man Glennon filling in for me. We'll see if that little blonde gal who just came in here has her way. I might be gone. So we'll see how it all plays out. Have a great day of trading.